Hi, welcome to this channel. This is an audio for class 7th Geography Chapter 3, Our Changing Earth. Before we begin, may I request you to please like and subscribe to the channel and also share it with your friends and colleagues. So let's begin. The lithosphere is broken into a number of plates known as lithospheric plates. You will be surprised to know that these plates move around very slowly, just a few millimeters each year. This is because of the movement of the molten magma inside the earth. The molten magma inside the earth moves in a circular manner as shown in the activity. The movement of these plates causes changes on the surface of the earth. The earth movements are divided on the basis of the forces which cause them. The forces which act in the interior of the earth are called as endogenic forces, and the forces that work on the surface of the earth are called as exogenic forces. The activity: take a small colored paper pellet and put it in a beaker half filled with water. Place the beaker on a tripod stand and heat it. As the water warms up, you will observe that the paper pellet is moving upward along with the warm layers of water and then sinks back along with the cooler layers of water. The molten magma inside the earth moves in a similar manner. Lithospheric plates. The Earth's crust consists of several large and some small, rigid, irregularly shaped plates or slabs which carry continents and the ocean floor. This is a diagram on the evolution of landforms. Earth movements divided into two: endogenic forces and exogenic forces, which are again subdivided into different types like sudden force and diastrophic forces comes under endogenic forces, and exogenic, it has erosional and depositional forces. Sudden forces: earthquake, volcanoes, landslides are examples of sudden forces, and building mountains, this is a diastrophic force. Erosional and depositional forces: river, wind, sea waves, and glaciers. Endogenic forces sometimes produce sudden movements and at the other times produce slow movements. Sudden movements like earthquakes and volcanoes cause mass destruction over the surface of the earth. A volcano is a vent opening in the earth's crust through which molten material erupts suddenly. This is the word origin of endo and exo. Endo is inside and exo is outside. Genic means origin. Endogenic, endo and the genic became endogenic, exo, and the word genic becomes exogenic. Here is the diagram: gases, ash, crater, this is vent, this is lava, this is the crust, the upper layer of the earth, and this is the mantle. And this is the chamber, magma chamber, that is between, within the mountainous mountain where the lava comes out of. Okay. Similarly, when the lithosphere plates move, the surface of the earth vibrates. The vibrations can travel all around the earth. These vibrations are called earthquakes. The place in the crust where the movement starts is called the focus. The place on the surface above the focus is called epicenter. Vibrations travel outwards from the epicenter as waves. Greatest damage is usually closest to the epicenter, and the strength of the earthquake decreases away from the center. It talks about an activity. Take a container, fill it with water, and close it with a lid. Put the water to boil. Now put some peas, spoon, and beads on top of the lid. What do you notice? As the water boils, the lid begins to shake. The things which you have put on the lid also vibrate. The beads roll down and the spoon vibrates to make a sound. In the same manner, the earth vibrates when an earthquake occurs. Origin of the earth. This is the plate boundary epicenter. Seismic wave radiate out in all directions. This is how the seismic wave radiate. This is where the earthquake occurs. It is the origin of the seismic energy. Okay, the earthquake occurs at the origin of the seismic energy. Now, do you know there are three types of earthquake waves: P wave, S wave, and L wave. P wave or longitudinal waves. Okay, S waves and transverse waves. L waves or surface waves. Try to find out the properties of these waves from an encyclopedia. Although earthquakes cannot be predicted, the impact can certainly be minimized if we are prepared beforehand. Some common earthquake prediction methods adopted locally by people include studying animal behavior. Fish in the ponds get agitated, snakes come to the surface. This is earthquake, a case study. Earthquake hits Bhuj. The massive earthquake measuring 6.9 on Richter scale hit Bhutan on 26 January 2001. School worst affected. At least 971 students and 31 teachers are feared to have lost their lives following the collapse of a school building. Third is Bhuj relief effort belighted. 3 days after the quake, concern rose about food, blankets, and medical supplies not reaching everywhere. Dis- Destruction of Bhuj. Phone lines, water pipelines, and water stations transmission lines were knocked out. Fire in the city. Hundreds of fires started as charcoal cookers overturned. Emergency declared in quake zone. The president declares a state of emergency. CM's appeal to the center. Gujarat appeals for financial help. The chief minister of Gujarat has launched an appeal for the center to deal with the disaster. Do you know an earthquake is measured with a machine called seismograph? The magnitude of the earthquake is measured on the Richter scale. An earthquake of 2.0 or less can be felt only a little. An earthquake over 5.0 can cause damage from things falling. At 6.0 or higher magnitude, a 6.0 or higher magnitude is considered very strong, and 7.0 is classified as a major earthquake. Activity. Read the earthquake, a case study given in the form of headlines that appeared in the newspaper after the quake. Arrange the events in the right sequence of their happening. Imagine if a quake suddenly shook in the middle of the day school, where would you go for safety? Earthquake preparedness. Where to take shelter during an earthquake? Safe spot. Under a kitchen counter, table, or desk, against an inside corner or wall. Stay away from fireplaces, areas around chimneys, windows that shatter, including mirrors and picture frames. Be prepared. Spread awareness amongst your friends and family members and face any disaster confidently. Major landforms. The landscape is being continuously the landscape is being continuously worn away by two processes, weathering and erosion. Weathering is the breaking up of the rocks on the earth's surface. Erosion is the wearing away of the landscape by different agents like water, wind, and ice. The eroded material is carried away or transported by water, wind, etc., and eventually deposited. This process of erosion and deposition create different landforms on the surface of the earth. Work of a river. The turning water in the river erodes the landscape. When the river tumbles at steep angle over very hard rocks or down a steep valley side, it forms a waterfall. This hard rock, softer rock undercut by the power of the water. and this is how the waterfall forms. Do you know there are thousands of small waterfalls in the world? The highest waterfall is Angel Falls of Venezuela in South America. The other waterfall are the other waterfalls are Niagara waterfalls. Are Niagara Falls located on the border between Canada and USA in North America, and Victoria Falls on the border of Zambia, Zambia and Zimbabwe in Africa. This is the Niagara Falls. As the river enters the plain, it twists and turns, forming large bends known as meanders. Due to continuous erosion and deposition along the sides of the meander, the ends of the meander loop come closer and closer. In due course of time, the meander loop cuts off from the river and forms a cut-off lake, also called as Oxbow Lake. At times, the river overflows its banks. This leads to the flooding of the neighboring areas. As it floods, it deposits layers of fine soil and other material called sediments along its banks. This leads to the formation of a flat, fertile floodplain. The raised banks are called levees. As the river approaches the sea, the speed of the flowing water decreases and the river begins to break up into a smaller streams called distributaries. The river becomes so slow that it begins to deposit its load. Each distributary forms its own mouth. The collection of sediments from all the mouths form a delta. This is how it is. This is the floodplain. This is levees, meander, Oxbow Lake, uh, features made by river in a floodplain. Let's do find out the names of few rivers of the world that form a delta. Main river, and this is the distributary. Work of sea waves. The erosion and deposition of the sea waves gives rise to coastal landforms. Sea waves continuously strike at the rocks. Cracks develop. Over time, they become larger and wider. Thus, hollow like caves are formed on the rocks. They are called sea caves. As these cavities become bigger and bigger, only the roof of the caves remain, thus forming sea arches. Further erosion breaks the roof and only walls are left. These wall like features are called stacks. The steep rocky coast rising almost vertically above the sea water is called sea cliff. The sea waves deposit sediments along these shores, forming beaches. This is the sea arc, this is the stack, and this is the sea cave. Work of ice. Glaciers are rivers of ice, which too erode the landscape by bulldozing soil and stones to expose the solid rock below. Glaciers carve out deep hollows there. As the ice melts, they get filled up with water and become beautiful lakes in the mountains. The material carried by the glacier, such as rocks, big and small, sand and silt, gets deposited. These deposits form glacial moraines. Okay, these deposits form glacial moraines. Work of wind. Have you ever visited a desert? Try to collect some pictures of sand dunes. An active agent of erosion deposition in the deserts is wind. In deserts, you can see rocks in the shape of a mushroom, commonly called mushroom rocks. Winds erode the lower section of the rock more than the upper part. Therefore, such rocks have narrower base and wider top. When the wind blows, it lifts and transports sand from one place to another. When it stops blowing, the sand falls and gets deposited in low hill like structures. These are called sand dunes. When the grains of sand are very fine and light, the wind can carry it over very long distances. When such sand is deposited in large areas, it is called loose. Let me check. I'm not sure about the pronunciation. Let me check how it is pronounced. Lows.
Lois.
Loess. So this is pronounced as loess. When such a sand is deposited in large areas, it is called loess. Large deposits of loess is found in China. That's it. So again, I request you to like the channel, subscribe to it so that you receive the notification on any videos that are released in the future. Thank you so much.